Good evening. You're watching World Today, your window to the world. I'm Sakal Bhatt. In the next 1 hour, we'll get you top trending international stories as well as some important national stories. And well, on the show tonight, we get you the latest on the EU-UK confrontation of sorts on renegotiating Brexit deal on Northern Ireland. We will also get you a detailed report on AGNIPATH scheme cleared by the cabinet today, and also announcement of 10 lakh jobs by Honourable Prime Minister, and much more on the show. But first up on World Today, here are the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi reviews the status of human resources in all departments and ministries, instructs recruitment of 10 lakh people by the government in mission mode in next 1.5 years. External Affairs Minister welcomes decision, says greater human resources will enable us to render more effective public service by Team MEA. Cabinet clears AGNIPATH scheme for recruitment of youth in armed forces. Agniveers to be enrolled under respective service acts for 4 years. Recruitment rallies will commence in 90 days. United Kingdom reveals plans to override some of the post-Brexit trade rules for the region. Plan aims to make it easier for some goods to flow from Great Britain to Northern Ireland. UK's plan irks European Union. EU says not renegotiate the Northern Ireland Protocol agreement. White House calls both sides to return to talks. Back home, Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal holds meeting with Nepal's Minister of Industry, Commerce and Supplies in Geneva on the sidelines of the WTO meet. Also holds meeting with his Irish counterpart Leo Varadkar and European Union Trade Commissioner Valdis Dombrovskis. Key Asian markets slide as Australian stocks mark worst day since March 2020. Japan's Nikkei 225 index down 1.3%. Negative tone in Asia follows a bleak session in the US on Monday, with S&P 500 confirming that it is in a bear market. Fears grow that the expected aggressive interest rate hikes by the Federal Reserve would push the economy into a recession. A new chapter is added to the spiritual and cultural ties between India and Mongolia. The relics of Lord Buddha put on public display on the occasion of Mongolian Buddha Purnima. The holy relics of Lord Buddha returned to Mongolia after 29 years. And we begin World Today with the big news. Prime Minister Narendra Modi today reviewed the status of human resources in all departments and ministries. He has instructed that recruitment of 10 lakh people be done by the government in mission mode in the next 1.5 years. Recruitment of at least 10 lakh people to be done in the next 1.5 years. That's the target set, as Prime Minister reviewed the status of human resources in various departments and ministries. Hailing the decision, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has said that he has welcomed the decision. Jaishankar said, welcome, and I quote from his tweet, welcome Prime Minister Modi's instructions for government recruitment in mission mode. Greater human resources will enable us to render more effective public service by Team MEA, including in passports and visas. In another important development of the day, Union Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and the 3 service chiefs on Tuesday introduced a short-term defence recruitment policy called AGNIPATH. The Cabinet Committee on Security has taken a historic decision today to approve the transformative scheme of AGNIPATH, under which Indian youth would be granted an opportunity to get inducted into the armed services.
The Union Cabinet, chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, approved a recruitment scheme, AGNIPATH, for Indian youth to serve in the armed forces. The youth selected under this scheme will be known as Agniveers. AGNIPATH allows patriotic and motivated youth to serve in the armed forces for a period of 4 years. AGNIPATH scheme will provide an opportunity to the youth who may be keen to don the uniform by attracting young talent from the society who are more in tune with contemporary technological trends and plow back skilled, disciplined and motivated manpower into the society.
यूथफुल प्रोफाइल से यह फायदा भी होगा कि उन्हें नई नई टेक्नोलॉजी के लिए आसानी से ट्रेन किया जा सकेगा और उनकी हेल्थ और फिटनेस का लेवल भी काफी बेहतर होगा। साथियों, इस अग्निपथ योजना से एम्प्लॉयमेंट अपॉर्चुनिटीज बढ़ेंगी और अग्निवीर सेवा के दौरान अर्जित स्किल्स एवं एक्सपीरियंस उन्हें विभिन्न क्षेत्रों में एम्प्लॉयमेंट भी प्राप्त कराएगा।
Agniveers will be given an attractive customized monthly package along with risk and hardship allowances as applicable in the three services. On completion of the engagement period of 4 years, Agniveers will be paid one-time Seva Nidhi package which shall comprise their contribution. The emoluments will match the best in any sector and the pay package has been designed in such a way that it will make healthy contributions to ensure sound financial condition of the Agniveers. The decision has been hailed by heads of all three defence services.
The Agniveers who will form a part of the Indian Air Force are going to be an inherent component of an organization that prides itself on its core values of mission, integrity and excellence. These core values equip our men and women with the knowledge, ethos and pride to render service to the nation and forms the bedrock on which professional attitudes and beliefs that characterize an air warrior are formed.
The AGNIPATH scheme is a transformational reform for the Army and the nation and aims to bring a paradigm change in the human resource management of the Indian Army. The scheme, one of the most significant initiatives, aims to make the Army a future-ready fighting force, capable of meeting multiple challenges across the full spectrum of conflict. Secondly, increase in the technical threshold of the Army by recruiting Agniveers through ITIs and other technical institutes by harnessing their potential.
अग्निपथ स्कीम एक नए दौर की नई सोच है, एक आइडिया जो मेड इन इंडिया एंड मेड फॉर इंडिया है, एक आइडिया जो आर्म फोर्सेस के ह्यूमन रिसोर्सेज मैनेजमेंट को पॉजिटिवली इंपैक्ट करेगा, एक आइडिया जो युवाओं के एस्पिरेशंस और आर्म फोर्सेस की फ्यूचर रिक्वायरमेंट्स में बैलेंस लाएगा।
Under the scheme, the Seva Nidhi will be exempt from income tax. There shall be no entitlement to gratuity and pensionary benefits. Agniveers will be provided non-contributory life insurance cover of Rs 48 lakhs for the duration of their engagement period in the Indian Armed Forces. During this period of service to the nation, the Agniveers will be imparted with various military skills and experience, discipline, physical fitness, leadership qualities, courage and patriotism. Post this stint of 4 years, the Agniveers will be infused into the civil society where they can contribute immensely towards the nation-building process. Moreover, the Seva Nidhi of approximately Rs 11,71,000 would aid the Agniveers in pursuing their future dreams without any financial pressures. World Today Desk, DD India.
And joining us on the show is Professor M.K. Agarwal from the Department of Economics in Lucknow University, and also we're very glad to have with us Major General S.P.S. Thana. He's a strategic and defense expert. Can we have the guest please on our show? Can we go across to the guest please?
I'm on the show.
Yes. All right, sir. Yes, sir. Good evening. Thank you so much, Major General Asthana, for joining us, and also welcoming Professor M.K. Agarwal. I'm going to start with Major General Asthana. Your initial remarks. This Agnipath scheme, the nod given by the cabinet today. Experts are calling it a paradigm shift, a massive transformational reform, a game changer, etc., etc. But as a veteran military personnel, what makes it out of the box idea, and what is the basic rationale behind introducing a scheme which many experts are also pitching it as a game changer?
Firstly, it's a path-breaking, it's a major transformational scheme and a major transformational change. The whole idea behind it is that you are recruiting somebody at an age of 17 and a half and he moves out at 21. So with the result, the overall profile and the average profile of the younger soldiers, which is the cutting edge of the army, that becomes younger. Because today if you average out the profile, that is certainly come down by about 3 to 4 years. So that is going to be a major game changer as far as the cutting edge is concerned. The second important thing is that when we are talking of the selections, now in the present system, when you recruit somebody, you can only take him out because of inefficiency. Whereas in this case, after 4 years you have a choice for selection and you can retain the best talent which is available for the army. Thirdly, even if you compare it from the human resource outside, if a boy is joining military forces at 17 and a half, having got trained in the army, and if he is also given some kind of a skill development,
Okay.
he comes out as a major skilled human resource for the country, and he is coming out at a time which is 21 years. Now that is actually the time when a normal youth is looking for a job. So if you compare it with his peer who did not join Agniveer, he would perhaps be better placed to look for a job outside and also contribute to the society and the country in a better manner. So these are some of the pluses of this. Now there are also a major amount of apprehensions which many people have given out in various forums.
Sure.
Now let me address some of them. See, any scheme which we roll out certainly will have some uncertainties till it actually comes into place. So the biggest uncertainty which people feel is where do they go after 4 years?
Absolutely.
Yes, if he is empowered by the, should I say, skill development and with the training which he gets in the army, he will perhaps be a better citizen. And as I mentioned, the normal job hunting starts at 21. So if he is at par with his peers and better placed, then I think he should be looking at any opportunity. And also this is a whole of government's approach, and in this the private sector as well as the government sectors, we will appreciate that everybody prospers this idea for the simple reason, because after when they come out, they should be able to take this talent and they should also be able to give us the inputs for this kind of talent, so that when we do the skill development is saleable in the commercial market as well. So therefore all his profile is also being made in a manner that it is saleable, it is useful for the rest of the country, and he becomes a better citizen. So these are some of the pluses which are there, and the apprehension certainly will remain there. As far as the operational efficiency is concerned, on one side we can say that okay, this is a model in which you do not have too many experienced soldiers, but on the other side you also are getting an opportunity to weed out the guys who are not appearing to be that well off as far as professionalism is concerned. So it goes both ways. Now which side is better placed, or how good the benefits appear, will only be seen after we test this scheme for some time. So I am sure we will have to wait and see as to how it rolls out, but for the time being, as far as the planning is concerned,
Okay.
I think it appears to be a very logical step for better
Yes,
youth
just to
harvesting
help
as well
us-
as human resource.
Right. Sir, but help us understand the intent to have a scheme, something like AGNIPATH. What was the basic idea to move something like AGNIPATH?
You are asking me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The basic idea was, as I mentioned, if you have to lower the profile and if you have to get the teeth to tail ratio right, and if you have to right size your army, then obviously you will have to have more technologically savvy younger generation. At the same time, you will have to cut down on the numbers. So considering these two things, we can perhaps have the younger generation and a better turnover. So therefore, a younger profile of the army, number one.
Okay.
Number two, you can also, the fringe benefit is that you can reduce the pension bill as well as the revenue expenditure. Although we will waste some revenue expenditure in a manner, because out of the training which we give them, that training may not be utilized for 15 odd years or something like that. But notwithstanding that, that you will get more than adequately compensated by reduction of the pension bill. So therefore, you are achieving a younger profile, number one.
Okay.
Number two, also a technologically savvy profile, for the simple reason because the younger generation is much more tech savvy as compared to the older generation of the soldiers. So therefore, we know that the kind of weaponry and the equipment which is inducted, that requires a tech savvy army. So I think we will have the and a choice to pick, and a choice to pick at a younger level, that is at the 4 years level. So now you have a choice to pick.
So you're harnessing potential here. You're also in a way harnessing young India's potential to the maximum limit for those who have their jazba to do something, and now there is a scheme in place. Let me quickly go across to Professor Agarwal also, sir. Apologies for that initial hiccup with the audio video link there. Professor Agarwal, going back to the development, it's the Prime Minister announcing at least 1.5 years, within the range of 1.5 years, 10 lakh jobs in various departments of government, various ministries, and Prime Minister has used the word mission mode. Again, a simple question. What makes this very, very important? A. B. The intent of this particular development, especially in the government sector. Why are these jobs so important?
See, this is a very, a holistic type of approach. It should not be simply seen as the employment generating program. It is an integration of National Education Policy 2020 plus employment generation for the youth, plus capacity building, plus making them the future, much more advanced manpower in terms of entrepreneurial skill, in terms of jobs for elsewhere. So far, Ministry of Defense Ministry has come out with its plan, but very soon you will find that different ministries are coming out with their plan, and if all are to be studied and narrated to the youths who are keen to join this million employment program by the Prime Minister, and really it is a historic program in the sense that only such young people ranging from say around 17.5 as has come from the Defense Ministry to 21.5. So this is the age group when they have to study. During this program, they will be making a contribution to the nation in terms of their service, whether they are in the Defense Ministry or as far as External Affairs Minister has come out with his own plan that he is also going to make a plan very soon, and similarly other ministries have to come out with their own plans. So they will be a trained manpower in a very short span of time. They will be contributing to different ministries wherever they are employed, and it will be a 4-year program. They will be making money and there will be contribution. This way they can have the millions of rupees towards the end of their 4 years, and as Defense Ministry has come out with the plan that 25% will be absorbed there. Rest they can go elsewhere, and different states government, particularly the Madhya Pradesh government has come out with a motive that they will be giving preference to such type of trained manpower in their police force, those who are leaving Defense Ministry after 4th year. So this is a type of much integrated program, and definitely it is out of box thinking in the sense that youths, suppose those who are joining as a 10th standard student and they are serving, so they are going to get the credit as per National Education Policy 2020, gradually it is unfolding itself. So when they are coming out, they will be getting points in their credit. They can use and they can get advanced degrees, for example 10 plus 2 and maybe more later on. So they are not wasting in terms of their educational standards as well. If they want, they can pursue further, and if they have enough money with them, 1 million, 2 million rupee, that is 10 lakhs and 20 lakhs rupees in this range, if they are accumulating in this young age, believe me, is what that they are going to be the great future entrepreneur of the country and going to contribute for the Atmanirbhar Bharat in more stronger manner.
All right, on that positive note, thank you very much, gentlemen, Major General Asthana and also Professor Agarwal for joining us and making us understand the significance of these two important announcements made by the government today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right. And now let's move on to the other lead story on World Today. Britain and European Union are, well, they seem to be at loggerheads over the Brexit deal. Britain wants to revisit some of the post-Brexit trade rules for Northern Ireland by questioning the role of EU or European Union, while EU has made it clear that it will not renegotiate Northern Ireland Protocol agreement. UK is adamant and wants negotiations with European Union. In fact, EU has called renegotiating unrealistic. Meanwhile, Germany has reacted strongly to the stance taken by UK. Here is a detailed report.
Britain published plans on Monday to override some of the post-Brexit trade rules for Northern Ireland by scrapping checks and challenging the role played by the European Union's court in a new clash with Brussels. Warning of appropriate action, the European Union has said that it will not renegotiate the Northern Ireland Protocol agreement. However, the UK government has denied any potential breach of international law. British Foreign Minister Liz Truss defended the move, saying Britain remains open to negotiations with the European Union.
What we are doing is we are changing the agreement to have exactly the same effect as far as the EU is concerned, so we continue to protect the EU single market.
Renegotiating of the protocol is unrealistic. No workable alternative solution has been found to this delicate, long negotiated balance. Any renegotiations would simply bring further legal uncertainty for the people and businesses in Northern Ireland. For these reasons, the European Union will not renegotiate the protocol.
German Chancellor Olaf Scholz too reacted sharply, saying he found regrettable Britain's unjustified decision to float a law that would scrap checks on goods moving between Britain and Northern Ireland, adding that the European Union would have a unified response.
It is also unjustified because the European Commission made many pragmatic proposals on how to achieve a good coexistence as part of the agreement we reached to ensure a good transfer of goods between Great Britain and Northern Ireland, while at the same time gestures including Northern Ireland in the European Union, which is a special privilege.
Amid all this, the White House urged Britain and the European Union to return to talks to resolve differences over implementation of the Northern Ireland Protocol, but said it does not expect the issue to impede a US-UK trade dialogue next week.
The U.S. priority remains protecting the gains of the Belfast Good Friday Agreement and preserving peace, stability, and prosperity for the people of Northern Ireland. We recognize there have been challenges over the implementation of the Northern Ireland Protocol. We urge the UK and the EU to return to talks to resolve these differences.
Despite Ireland describing the move as a new low and Brussels talking of damaged trust, Britain pressed ahead with what Prime Minister Boris Johnson suggested were relatively trivial steps to improve trade and reduce bureaucracy. World Today Desk, DD India.
Moving on in world today, top advisors to the then US President Donald Trump have told him that his claims of widespread election fraud were unfounded and would not reverse his 2020 election loss, but he refused to listen. Now, this is according to the testimony that was produced on Monday at a hearing of the committee which was investigating the January 6, 2021 riots at the US Capitol Hill. Now, close aides and family members have maintained that they apparently told Donald Trump that they found no merit in this wide range of outlandish allegation that surfaced after his election defeat, including the reports of a suspicious suitcase containing fake ballots, a truck transporting ballots to Pennsylvania, and computer chips swapped into voting machines, and much more. Here's a report.
Top advisors to the then President Donald Trump told him that his claims of widespread election fraud were unfounded and would not reverse his election loss, but he refused to listen. This is according to a testimony on Monday at a hearing of the committee investigating the January 6, 2021 riot at the US Capitol. Officials working on Trump's campaign and in his administration said they told Trump that they found no merit in a wide range of allegations that surfaced after his November election defeat, including reports of a suspicious suitcase containing fake ballots, a truck transporting ballots to Pennsylvania, computer chips swapped into voting machines, and rampant fraudulent voting in Arizona. In video testimony, William Barr, who served as Trump's Attorney General and was long known as loyal to the Republican president, bluntly dismissed claims of fraud as bullshit and crazy stuff.
And I was somewhat demoralized because I thought, boy, if he really believes this stuff, he has, lost contact with he's become detached from reality if he really believes this stuff. On the other hand, when I went into this and would, tell him how crazy some of these allegations were, there was never an indication of interest in what the actual facts were. My opinion then and my opinion now is that the election was not stolen by fraud. And I haven't seen anything since the election that changes my mind on that, including the 2000 Mules movie.
The Democratic-led House of Representatives Select Committee investigating the assault on US Capitol by thousands of Trump supporters presented its findings at a second public hearing this month on its nearly year-long investigation into the riot. Monday's hearing sought to make the case that Trump ignored the advice of many of his own staffers when he claimed that 2020 presidential election was stolen from him and encouraged his supporters to march on the Capitol. Trump has denied wrongdoing and repeatedly insisted that he did not lose, dismissing the Select Committee investigation as political witch hunt. Opinion polls show that many of Trump's supporters still believe his false claim about elections. Some are now running for offices in which they would oversee future elections. Trump has hinted at running for president again in 2024, but has not announced any decision. Bill Stepien, Trump's campaign manager, said he recommended on election night that Trump steer clear of any pronouncement of victory and instead say votes were still being counted, but Trump went on television to preemptively declare victory. Georgia and Pennsylvania were among states that backed Trump in 2016 elections but went for Biden in 2020. There have been a focus of the unfounded assertions of election fraud. Monday's session followed a blockbuster hearing on Thursday night featuring testimony showing that close Trump allies, even Trump's daughter Ivanka, rejected his false claims of voting fraud. Nearly 20 million Americans watched the unusual hearing aired in primetime peak television viewing hours. 4 people died on the day of the attack, 1 fatally shot by police and others of natural causes. Some 140 police officers were injured and 1 died the next day. 4 officers later died by suicide. Nearly 850 people have been arrested for crimes related to the riot, including more than 250 charged with assaulting or impeding law enforcement. Bureau Report, Lead India.
And now let's go back to our top international story on World Today, on the EU-UK sort of confrontation on the renegotiated Brexit deal. We are joined by Ambassador Baswati Mukherjee. Ambassador Baswati Mukherjee is former senior diplomat joining us on the show. Yes, she's there. Ma'am, good evening, Ambassador. Yes, just to understand, what is this difference of opinion all about, especially the reluctance by the European Union to agree to or sort of come on the same page as far as Boris Johnson's rewriting the Brexit deal or Northern Ireland is concerned? Just to simplify it for our viewers, why and where is the confrontation?
Actually, it's a problem that has to be examined from a European Union perspective as also from a UK perspective. From a UK perspective, the Good Friday Agreement was able to bring peace to Northern Ireland on the basis that there would be no discrimination in the border crossing between Northern Ireland and Republic of Ireland. When the Brexit deal was being negotiated, the European Union made it clear to the UK that under no circumstances would they allow violation of the Good Friday Agreement, and therefore goods from UK would go to Northern Ireland and there would be an open border, so to speak, between Northern Ireland and Republic of Ireland, so that Republic of Ireland would not feel that the Good Friday Agreement has been violated. This was an issue that held up the Brexit agreement right till the very end. In fact, when people had given up on the Brexit agreement, this agreement came through. Therefore, when the UK Prime Minister says that he is only altering few small parts of the agreement, he is actually walking onto hallowed ground on which there was an agreement that there would be never any change whatsoever. Why does he want to make these changes? He wants to make these changes because he is under pressure from some of his constituencies,
yes,
who are saying that this agreement seems to give the impression that Northern Ireland is not really part of UK because it has a separate tariff agreement with another entity, which did not matter as long as UK was part of that entity. But that was a political deal under which the UK got huge concessions from the EU on other issues. So if he is going to open this up, what is going to happen is, it will be a danger to the peace agreement, the Good Friday Agreement. It will result in United Kingdom being taken to court by the European Union, and it will ultimately, if he doesn't back off, it will result in an unraveling of the entire Brexit agreement. So when it's couched in such careful diplomatic language, which I am very familiar with, I wanted to give you the background to that it actually conceals a volcano under its calm exterior. There's a lot of stuff underneath which will then come up.
And Germany is calling it unjustified. US wants this should be discussed further. Now, the ramifications of this back and forth, ma'am, which is happening between Boris Johnson and EU, because the Russia-Ukraine story is still not over. The world, the whole world order, not that we're going to discuss that, but then do you think there are larger ramifications of this back and forth between the two sides?
Well, the ramifications were clear when UK left European Union, because the European Union, the world's largest economic entity, UK by leaving it, reduced its status as a trading power in the world by so many notches. But UK and European Union are both in NATO. So from a security perspective, there is no danger. But from an economic perspective, from an international cooperation aspect, it is not good to give an impression at a time when there are so many challenges to international peace and security. It's not a good thing to show a disunited face to the world. And what I am repeating here is, because I followed the Brexit deal to its very end, and I wrote a book on it. The point here is that the checks which are proposed to be put by UK on meat and other products entering Northern Ireland, that's a no-no, because it's going to affect the entire EU trade flow. So this is something on which they will never agree. So in fact, what is happening is that from a very small issue, I would very much regret if a very carefully negotiated agreement, which allowed an orderly exit of the UK at the very last moment when we had all given up and we were following the negotiations, it would be very unfortunate. And as you rightly point out, there are no direct ramifications on international peace and security. But even if two entities are members of NATO, but are quarreling or in a legal dispute at the highest level on trade, which is what really matters today, yes, it does give an impression of disunity, which in my personal view should and could be avoided. I'm sure that some kind of negotiations could be
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I'm really sorry we're running short of time, but one last question. How do you see this panning out from here on, considering US has urged both sides to talk, but then EU has warned UK of some sort of consequences or whatever the hard line that they seem to have taken at this juncture? How do you see this panning out?
Well, US asking both sides to talk is expected. I mean, the US actually did try to a very large extent to ensure that there would be an orderly Brexit or no Brexit at all. But what is happening is that the UK got certain important concessions on fishing in waters, EU waters, not a whole list of concessions. All those concessions are in danger of being withdrawn. So this will naturally result in a huge problem as far as trade is concerned, because if there is now a trade war, let's say between EU and UK, at a time when we are facing huge problems, as we know about oil, gas, wheat, sunflower, etc., is going to merely make world trade, the global economy, etc., more strained, something that should be totally avoided. So I think that's also probably why President Biden is urging some talks. But I would tell you frankly, before I leave, that there is no way, in my perspective, having followed it, that the EU will agree to making any changes whatsoever. Because there are changes that they wanted to make, which UK refused. And ultimately, they decided this is like a holy piece of paper, nobody touches it on either side. You touch one, then the other side comes up with others. So I think either the United Kingdom decides to have a rethink, or we are going to be in for a very protracted piece of negotiation, in which case we'll be discussing it again and again on your channel. Thank you.
Yes, we'll have to see how this how the story really pans out from here on, with two sides. As of now, they seem to be pretty reluctant on their slated positions. It was such a pleasure talking to you, Ambassador Mukherjee. Thank you so much for talking to us. And other international stories on World Today. The holy relics of Lord Buddha returned to Mongolia after 29 years, and for the first time, Mongolian Buddhist relics are also being displayed in Ganden Monastery alongside Indian relics, reinforcing this unique spiritual link between our two brotherly nations, that is Mongolia and India. Now, India has reprinted 100 sets of 108-volume Sacred Mongolian Kanjur, which will soon be distributed to monasteries. Here's more.
A new chapter has been added to the spiritual and cultural ties between India and Mongolia. The holy relics of Lord Buddha returned to Mongolia after 29 years. The relics are being kept at the Ganden Monastery till the 24th of June as part of the Mongolian Buddha Purnima celebrations. The relics are being accorded the status of a state guest in Mongolia and are kept in the same climate-controlled case in which they've been kept at the National Museum in Delhi. The main religious ceremony took place at the Ganden Tegchenling Monastery, the center of Mongolian Buddhists in Ulaanbaatar. Union Minister Kiren Rijiju said that for the first time, Mongolian Buddhist relics are also being displayed in Ganden Monastery alongside Indian relics, reinforcing this unique spiritual link between two brotherly nations. He also announced that India has reprinted 100 sets of 108-volume Sacred Mongolian Kanjur, which will soon be distributed to monasteries.
I am happy to announce that India has reprinted 100 sets of 108-volume Sacred Mongolian Kanjur, which will soon be distributed to monasteries and other institutions in Mongolia in the coming months.
The Union Minister also assured the people of Mongolia that that India will continue to deepen its cultural connect with Buddhism and Mongolia. It will strive to strengthen deep-rooted civilizational links and at the same time continue to expand economic collaboration and people-to-people ties.
On behalf of our beloved Prime Minister and the people of India, I assure you all that India would continue to deepen its cultural connect of Buddhism with Mongolia. We'll strive to strengthen our deep-rooted civilizational links and at the same time continue to expand our economic collaboration and people-to-people contact.
It was an emotional moment for many Mongolians who rejoiced over the historic moment of Lord Buddha's relics being brought from India to Mongolia.
It is very big and historical occasion. It's the second time this holy relics visiting Mongolia, and I would like to express my deep appreciation for the Indian government for allowing this event to happen in Mongolia.
Buddha Purnima is the most sacred day in the Buddhist calendar. It's the most important festival for the Buddhists and is celebrated with great enthusiasm. The day is marked by chanting and praying sessions, Buddhist rituals and ceremonies. In Mongolia, Buddhist Purnima is falling on Wednesday this year. Earlier on Monday, the holy relics were received with great reverence and ceremony at the Ulaanbaatar International Airport.
Main event is going to take place in this Gandhan monastery because this occasion is special because the Buddhist relics came from India, and this is very special moment for this country because this country, the people of this country, more than 55% of population follow Buddhism, and it also defines the relationship, a spiritual relationship between India and Mongolia, and it is a new chapter which is going to start. I am Om Prakash Das reporting from Ulaanbaatar with my camera person SK Narayan Murthy.
That was an exclusive report from Ulaanbaatar, and now time to get you update from the world of business. And for all the business talk, we have Tanvi with us, joining us from our newsroom. Tanvi, over to you. Good evening.
Good evening, Sakal. So in business today, US Federal Reserve officials beset by ongoing high inflation and a weakening growth picture will lay out tomorrow, that's Wednesday, how they think the increasingly difficult goal of cooling the economy without sending it into a tailspin may play out in the months ahead. Fed policymakers are expected to deliver their second half percentage point interest rate hike in a row and issue their latest projections through 2024 and beyond for economic growth, unemployment and inflation. The meeting comes 2 weeks after Fed Chair Jeremy Powell and US President Joe Biden met amid rising anxiety at the White House that a plentiful jobs picture is being drowned out by soaring costs for everything from rent, food to gasoline and airline tickets. If all goes as expected, then the Fed's key interest rate benchmark would have risen 1.5 percentage points in just a 3-month span. Overnight, US stocks tumbled, with the S&P 500 confirming that it is in a bear market as fears grow that the expected aggressive interest rate hikes by the US Federal Reserve would push the economy into a recession. The S&P 500 ended 3.9% lower on Monday, which is more than 20% below its January 3rd record closing high, as investors sold stocks amid worries over whether the US Fed will be able to tame inflation without triggering a recession. The Nasdaq Composite Index lost 4.7%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 2.8%. So this led key Asian share markets slid sharply lower, and the safe haven dollar held a near 2-decade peak on Tuesday after Wall Street hit a confirmed bear market milestone on fears that aggressive US interest rate hikes would push the world's largest economy into recession. The Australian share market wiped out almost $90 billion in value in a horror day on Tuesday as investors eye the implication of Wall Street entering a bear market. Australian benchmark ASX 200 lost 3.6%. Japan's Nikkei 225 index declined 1.3%. South Korea's Kospi shed 0.5%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng index ended flat, but China's Shanghai Composite Index gained 1%. Back home, the key benchmark indices ended a volatile session on Tuesday in the red. Investors globally remained cautious about the impact of red-hot inflation in the US on already hawkish central banks and the overall impact on economic growth. So the Sensex at the BSE lost 153 points, or 0.3%, to end at 52,694. The Nifty at the National Stock Exchange shed 42 points, or 0.3%, to close at 15,732. In the broader market, the BSE mid-cap and small-cap indices ended marginally lower. Among sectors, auto, metal and oil and gas ended in the red, while capital goods, power and realty indices ended higher. Talking of Euro stocks now, key European stock markets slipped lower in choppy trading on Tuesday following a global equity rout in the previous session as expectations of extra sharp rate rises by the US Federal Reserve plunged Wall Street into a bear market. So France's CAC 40 lost 0.9%, London's FTSE 100 had slipped 0.7% and Germany's DAX had shed 0.6%. Now shifting our attention to the 12th WTO Ministerial Conference on in Geneva, India has made a strong pitch for protecting the interests of the developing and underdeveloped countries at the WTO. Union Minister of Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal on Monday did some plain speaking at the 12th Ministerial Conference of the WTO. Goyal raised concerns about the skewed WTO reforms proposal, the imperative need to retain the special and differential treatment provisions for the developing world, global inequities in COVID vaccination and public stockholding of food grains. Speaking on the challenges confronting the ministerial session, Goyal said that the current proposals for WTO reform could fundamentally change its institutional architecture, skewing the system against the interests of developing countries. He said that we need to move ahead, preserving the core principles of consensus and ensuring S&DT with people and development being at the core of WTO's future agenda. Goyal said that COVID-19 pandemic has exposed the inability of the world to promptly respond to any crisis, whether on food security or health, economic well-being or open supply chains. To rebuild trust and credibility, Goyal said we must address mandated issues like the permanent solution to public stock holding agreed nearly a decade ago. The Union Minister argued that while negotiating the fisheries subsidies, the livelihood of traditional fishermen cannot be compromised. On climate change issues, the Union Minister proposed that we need to adopt environmentally conscious lifestyles, more sustainable lifestyles based on 3 P's of planet, pro-planet people. Now, nearly half of Japanese companies see the weak yen as bad for their business. A private survey showed on Tuesday suggesting that the currency's recent sharp decline is hurting business sentiment and clouding the economic outlook. The yen's decline to a 24-year low against the dollar is inflating the cost of raw material imports, hurting retailers and households, and creating a headache for politicians facing an upper house election next month. So that's it from the world of business. Sakal, back to you.
Thank you, Tanvi. And now let's, from business, let's get on to some stories coming in from the world of sports. And we begin with the Australia becoming the 31st team to book their place at the 2022 World Cup after beating Peru on penalties in an intercontinental playoff in Qatar. And this will be Australia's 5th World Cup in a row, having qualified every time since 2006. They will be in Group D alongside holders France, Denmark and Tunisia. The World Cup's final team will be decided on Tuesday when Costa Rica face New Zealand at the same venue, the Ahmed bin Ali Stadium. More here.
Australia's dancing substitute goalkeeper Andrew Redmayne saved the last penalty to clinch a place at the Qatar World Cup as they edged Peru 5-4 in a shootout following a 0-0 draw after extra time in an intercontinental playoff on Monday. Redmayne danced across the goal line before diving to the right to stop a kick from Alex Valera and hand Australia a deserved victory at the Ahmed bin Ali Stadium. Redmayne had been brought on 3 minutes from the end of the game for the shootout and became an instant hero with his antics on the line as he looked to distract the rival kicker. Australia had missed their first penalty but converted the next 5 to silence thousands of Peru supporters who travelled for the game and provided noisy support but saw their team conjure up a few opportunities. After booking ticket for this year's World Cup in Qatar, Australia's coach Graham Arnold expresses his happiness and says that he is speechless after his team's stunning performance and Australia is going to be strong for the World Cup.
I'm quite speechless at the moment because no one in Australia gave us a chance and you know, the boys, what we've been through over the last over the last year and a half with the pandemic, not being able to get back into Australia and players getting COVID and you know, us not being able to have our best squad together a lot of times, but you know, the mentality of the boys since they come into camp here was fantastic, and I couldn't be so proud and happy for the players. So we're going to be strong for the World Cup, and we're going to go to the World Cup with a lot of belief, and you know, from today it's a clean sheet. We're back to you know, best players need to get on that piece of paper to go to the World Cup here in Qatar.
It was enough for Luis Advincula to fire his effort against the post and then Valera to have his efforts saved as Australia qualified for a 5th successive World Cup and a 6th in total. They will play in Group D at the World Cup with holders France, Denmark and Tunisia. The finals run from November 21st to December 18th. Meanwhile, after the defeat against Australia, Peru's coach Ricardo Gareca says that they had expectation to qualify, but it is unfortunate for them. They gave their utmost.
Well, it's difficult to express these.
Most people know of Indonesia's Bali as an island paradise with pristine white beaches, resorts and couple of active volcanoes, but it is also home to Kopi Luwak along with some other Indonesian islands like Java and Sumatra. Now, what is Kopi Luwak? Kopi Luwak is the world's most expensive coffee made from coffee beans extracted from the feces of the Asian palm civet.
Kopi Luwak, the rarest beverage.
In the 2007 Hollywood buddy adventure film The Bucket List, actor Jack Nicholson's character loved Kopi Luwak for its exclusivity and price tag without knowing much about its origins till his buddy, played by Morgan Freeman, told him about it.
These cats eat the beans, digest them, and then defecate.
But you have to see it to believe it. Coffee came to Indonesia with Dutch colonizers, and then it stayed. It's not only the natives who loved it, but also the Asian palm civet, which fed on its sweet red berries. The fruit gets digested by the animal, but the seeds come out fermented in its digestive tract along with the excreta. The beans are washed out, cleaned, dried, and then roasted to different degrees to produce Kopi Luwak.
The Luwak coffee is special. The taste because different between the normal coffee and then the Luwak coffee. The taste very smooth and a little bit sour. But the Bali coffee, the taste very bitter and more strong coffee. And then the Luwak coffee very less caffeine because already after fermentation from the stomach animal.
The price of Kopi Luwak can range from $100 per kilogram for farm beans and $1,300 per kilogram for wild collected beans in retail. Some love it, some hate it. Animal lovers denounce it as it's led to the captive rearing of Asian palm civets. Clearly, the jury is out on whether it's worth all the trouble or not.
So what's the world famous Luwak coffee like? Let's try it. Let's try the aroma first and then the taste. Well, I was told that it's going to be light, but it's not. It does have a bite, and well, what's special about it is that it's completely biological, although it comes out the wrong way from the animal, but it goes down well. This is Gautam Roy with camera-person Jayashree in Bali, Indonesia for DD India.
That was Gautam's exclusive report from Bali. On that note, we're going to wrap it up here, World Today, with the promise that we're going to be back tomorrow at 6, your fresh edition of World Today. Meanwhile, news updates continue on your channel, DD India. Stay with us. Namaskar.